So everyone, I have reread Assassin's Apprentice, and this probably isn't that surprising, but I liked it way more this time, and I think it's pretty obvious why, and that's the first time I read this paperback, and the second time I read the illustrated edition, so obviously it had to be way better. Wait, what score am I going to give Live Ship if we get Live Ship illustrated editions? I already gave some of them 10. Okay, so on a not sarcastic note, I finished Assassin's Apprentice, and I think comparing why I enjoyed it so much more this time, so this is a review, it's a spoiler-free review, but I had some criticisms of Assassin's Apprentice the first time I read it. I guess I still have some, maybe, but I've come to disagree with a lot of past me's criticisms, so I feel like I can talk about the book with the perspective of someone who liked and didn't love it, and the perspective of someone who loved it, because I have now been both. So, the first thing is there's two reasons why I like this more the second time. The first is that this book is better on reread. Like, even if I liked it a lot the first time, I still think I would have liked it more the second time, because there are some aspects that will be very hard to pick up on if you don't know where the story goes, and because I've read it before and know where it goes, that added enjoyment. But also, I get along with Rob and Hobb's style a lot more now than I used to. And the first thing I want to talk to about is the difference in how much I enjoyed the protagonist, who, for those of you who don't know, Assassin's Apprentice is about a boy. It's a character study of a royal bastard named Fitzchivalry. It's told in first-person retrospective. He starts he's writing down the story of his life, and it starts when he's 6, and kinda his actual parents and family, like on his mother's side of the family, drop him off at the keep and goes, yeah, this is the king-in-waiting Chivalry's bastard. We aren't taking care of him. Like, the grandfather, his, I guess, grandfather is like, yeah, I'm not paying to take care of this guy. You're, like, the prince, and you're not helping us take care of this kid. You can take care of him now. And Fitz has no memories of his life before this. And so you start off with a character who, the actual, in the present story, is like a 6-year-old with no memories. And a lot of the time, kids as they get raised tend to be they're sponges, the things that people say they remember and influence them, and he doesn't have influences up to age 6. So it feels slightly weird to say this about the person who's my favorite fictional character ever, because a lot of the time this is used as an insult. But to start Assassin's Apprentice, Fitz is a little bit of a blank slate. He's not completely a blank slate. He has some things about him that are inherent to Fitz. One thing, this, I don't think it comes from how he was raised, but Fitz, right off the bat, is too accepting of people being shitty to him. Right away, when he's not being taken care of particularly well, considering he's a 6-year-old, he's like, well, the people who were in charge of me were busy. And it's like, Fitz, no, you're 6. They should be taking care of you. But so much of who he becomes as a person flows from his influences in this book. And I think very consistently among people who like the Farseer trilogy, one of the reasons they like the Farseer trilogy is that Fitz feels like such a human character, more human than basically any other character. And I think it's one of the reasons why is how well he's shaped by his environment. I think Chapter 5 is the best example of this. If you've read the book, you can go look at what Chapter 5 is and be like, oh yeah. If not, obviously, I'm not going to say what happened in Chapter 5. Especially because it sounds like that'd be really early, but the chapters in this book are kind of long, so that's actually, and it's not a long book, so that's actually a decent amount into the book. I think it's 23 chapters or something. Anyways, and then similarly to last time, the first time I read this, I thought I liked Fitz, but I was just kind of because in terms of personality in this book, he's not the most personality-filled character ever. Like, this isn't Glokta, right? It's just, or like Jaime or Tyrion. This is not Tyrion Lannister. But I think it's because he's a 6-year-old with no memories. And I think what makes him feel like such a real character is not like his personalities. I think I just wasn't. I think the normal way people write characters is characters have like tend to have like a central internal conflict. Like almost across the board. Like, I could probably tell you what Jaime Lannister's central internal conflict is, or what Kaladin's is, or what Rand al'Thor's is. Maybe slightly less so for Harry Dresden. Fitz doesn't have like one clear thing that makes him a character, and I think that's probably another reason why he feels more human, but it can also be a reason why maybe for like the first page people are kind of don't find him as interesting, which I can't blame people for. I thought that. Like, I was like somewhat invested in Fitz the first time I read Assassin's Apprentice, because like you can't not like cheer for Fitz a little bit. But I didn't think he was like the most interesting character. And I think so my favorite character in this book, in Assassin's Apprentice, might still be Verity. And that might still be true on reread. But I think the first time, in general, I like the side cast more than the actual protagonist, which is the other thing that Hobb is just like mind-bendingly good at, is developing non-POVs where you feel like you not only understand your protagonist and your one POV character, and it's all first person, you also understand the others. And yeah, she did that even better now that like I actually know who everyone is. So on reread, I appreciated that something more. Another thing I noticed on this read, and it's actually, funnily enough, I reread it, and then if you watch Chatting with Nuts, the YouTube channel Jimmy Nuts, he had Erickson on, and Erickson mentioned it, and he talked about the thing that I had noticed the night before, and it's how well Hobb uses the first-person POV. And he actually talks about, like, Chapter 2, or Chapter 1, and there's the way she has it for first-person, for it's like, what Fitz doesn't know some things aren't normal. And so you almost don't realize something somewhat strange is happening because Fitz doesn't realize something strange that's happening. Hello, Vin. But because Fitz doesn't realize something strange is happening, and it's handled amazingly well. And another thing I want to talk about for Assassin's Apprentice, which again is something like I totally understand, is the amount of time that Robin Hobb gives to each event can sometimes feel random. Where there will be an event that Hobb decides to give 15 pages to, and it won't feel that significant. And then there will be something that seems like a big change that's like one sentence. And I gotta say, knowing what type of story Hobb likes to tell, I feel like I understand why she allotted that much time to almost every single scene in this book, with one exception. There's one that was the main one I was thinking of, which for those who have read the book, it's the first time we see Lady Time. I don't know if it was necessary to devote that many pages to that. That's like the one thing where I'm like, but I did not enjoy it. And then also another famously, these are not happy reads. Basically everyone talks about like how rough Fitz has it. And on my original Goodreads review, if you look at my Goodreads review of Assassin's Apprentice, I did write a new one above it, but I left the old one. I said that I thought the sadness of Fitz's story was a little bit overblown. And I think from one perspective it is, in that if you were to compare the quality of Fitz's life for the duration of this book and say the quality of like Kaladin's life in The Way of Kings, or, lots of other fantasy characters, Glokta again, a bunch of Malazan characters, like quite a few characters. You were to just like list the hardships they go through, you would correctly say like, okay, Fitz, it could be worse. Like you could have it worse. But on the other hand, the way Hobb tells the story, I think is actually what makes it land emotionally harder than a lot of other series do. And I think it's the combination of how real Fitz's emotions feel. And she just, like, it's hard to go in without spoilers. I'm probably going to try and organize a discussion after I finish Farseer, and I can talk more about stuff like this, but just some aspects of how she weaves a story together, I think just leads to more emotional impact. So I've been saying for a long time that I don't actually think Robin Hobb is a particularly mean fantasy author. What she is she's particularly good at being mean. Sometimes authors try and be mean to me, and by that, I don't actually mean that as a bad thing. Like, they try and have an emotional moment. Those are my favorite type of books. And it just doesn't land to the extent that it does in this series. And even this book. So, basically, this is the most any book has ever jumped on reread for me by a huge margin. And I will say, I think if I had started, like, I think if I read Farseer for the first time now, my score would be in between this one and my original one, but much closer to this one. I think the enjoyment I got from this on reread, like the extra enjoyment, I went from like 7.4 to 9.1. So from like 3.5 to 4.5, like a full star jump. I think about 80% of it comes from me appreciating the style and the technique and just like this type of story more, and about 20% came from aspects of it that's only visible on reread. If you want to see some of, well, I guess if you want to see some reread observations, you're going to have to go to Daniel Green's Discord, and you're going to have to be done Realm of the Elderlings, because I posted some of them in the spoilers chat. But I do hope to put together a spoilers Farseer chat, and I will hope to talk about these things. I'm not going to be binging Farseer. I'm going to be going at a lackadaisical pace. But if you have a channel or don't have a channel and would like to participate in a Farseer spoiler discussion, you can comment below, or you can DM me on Discord, or you can tag me on Discord, whatever. One of those ways. It doesn't matter. I am really excited to read Royal Assassin. For those who don't know, Royal Assassin was originally easily it's still going to be my favorite book in the trilogy. I'm now wondering how Royal Assassin is going to compare to some of the later Realm of the Elderlings books, because damn, I love that book. This was a book that was absolutely worth rereading. I'm not the first person who's done this. I know Alex Nieves' great channel, love his Discord, great community. He originally gave Assassin's Apprentice 3 stars and then reread it and gave it 5. So I think even if I had read Assassin's Apprentice and gone like, I don't feel like continuing, and then come back and hadn't read the rest of Realm of the Elderlings, I think I would have enjoyed it basically this much. So I think if you've given Assassin's Apprentice a try, and since then have grown to enjoy that type of book more, I would recommend giving it another try. I think it was a fantastic book, and I also said on my Goodreads review the first time that it didn't make me cry. It got me a couple times. Anyways, everyone, I really enjoyed rereading this. I hope these thoughts were somewhat entertaining or useful. Have a nice day, everyone.